Good morning from Spirit Sessions of View of the Light. We are here today with our special guest, Robyn McClendon. But before we get started, I'd like you to please share this out, share our YouTube out, share our podcast out when it gets posted later today. It's on the Breakthrough Show Network as well. Please join us. Please send us your comments. We're here for you. Teresa's going to maybe pop in a bit. We do have our good friend Robyn McClendon, and she's brought Gaia along. Like thanks, Gaia, for showing up. And I know she knew before we got on the show that she was going to be the star of the show. So she's been having lots of communications with her good friend Robyn McClendon. Robyn, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? You're so talented. You're an artist. You're just a channel for Gaia. I mean, there's so much more to you. Can you tell us like what's going on with you right now and sort of how did you know you had this communication with Gaia?
Absolutely. And let me apologize to the audience right from the start. We were talking about this in the green room. I'm on my iPad and I'm trying to figure out the best place to look to make it look like I'm looking at you guys, but I'm really not looking off. I am looking at this. So please.
And I'm sharing out. I'm really not listening. I'm listening to you. I'm just sharing out the show to everybody. So everybody.
No, that's fine. I just want to let folks know why it looks like I'm looking a little bit off. Hey, Teresa. Thank you, my love. I love your energy, girl. So yes, I have, I'm a working artist. I've been a working artist all my life. And I have a program called ArtMythos. And as an artist, it's always about, telling our stories visually. A musician tells their stories, audially. A writer tells his stories linguistically, right? A dancer tells his story through body movement. Well, artists tell the story through visual symbols and colors and textures and things like that. But we're still telling a story. And so ArtMythos has always been about telling your stories visually. Art meaning, working with hands to do or make something. And then mythos is just stories, telling stories. And so that's been a key part of my work as an artist. And I think, which is why my community has just expanded beautifully, because I have people in my community that are, Reiki masters or who are yoga practitioners or, very spiritualists and stuff, and who connect with wanting to do work in a journal, like an art journal with writing or maybe collaging from magazines. And we know very much about soul collage, right? That's all about that practice of finding images and letting spirit guide you into creating cards that speak to you. So it goes beyond just like, art. It's just another way of dialoguing with the world around you, with your spiritual, your internal self, your soul self, your higher self, because we know that spirit talks in pictures. We those of us who are familiar, and you ladies are, obviously are just amazing spiritualists. Things come in pictures. They come in pictures or sometimes sounds or colors. It's not often that you're just hearing like a whole dialogue, of like words. So it's the way that the spirit realm talks. It's the way our consciousness talks. Like they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Spirit can get so much more said through us and to us with just a picture or a color than with the million words to describe it. So I talk about that because I want, the listening audience to start thinking a little bit different when you hear the word art. Most people say, I'm not creative. It's not about that. It's about personal expression. And we all have colors we like. We all have shapes, or, we wouldn't be able to decorate our homes or dress our bodies if we didn't have connections to stuff that we like. And to actually look at that more as spirit dialogue versus art is a different way of being in a relationship with it. So that's largely what I do in my community. And we have a lot of fun with that. I launched a program a couple of years ago, and I'm getting ready to relaunch it on radical love. The Mother is Calling. And this next version is going to be radical self-love. The Mother is Calling. Oh. Because we've got to be radical. We're in times, we're living in a radical world.
For sure. Getting more radical by the minute.
If we're going to get to that new earth, that you know, the original earth, I like to call it now, we got to be radical. And in that is a lot of information, it's a lot of storytelling. It's a lot of connecting to our personal story, our personal journeys. Those are the things that are going to carry us to the original earth, not someone else's story, somebody else's methodology. We can connect with people with their methodologies, but that's a way to find ours, right? It's a way to find ours. And then we keep moving and we meet somebody else and they're doing something and we're like, oh, okay, cool. And then we find ours. It's not about collecting these systems and doing exactly like that. Yeah. It's about coming in contact with a system, which is energy. And then we process it back into ourselves and then we create our own language. And so
we cherry pick it, right? We cherry pick what resonates, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. And to speak into that, and even sometimes those things that don't resonate, because I've really honed some of my processes by things that didn't resonate, you know, because they pushed me so far the other side. I'm like, oh my, what? You know, and you think about it and you're like, wait a minute. And it really helps you to dial deeper into the things that do resonate. So yes, it's like I always say, there are no right, no wrongs, no good or bad. It's just our perception, our interpretations, and what works for us.
I agree.
You know, and like learning not to be critics of people and of the world, but just saying, hey, you know, this is what works for me. And I resonate with that. And I ask that you respect that. And then I'll respect what resonates for you, because we all are going to get there, but we're only going to get there through our own methods, not someone else's.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me. Okay. As far as Gaia, I can remember specifically about, I've always had this connection to her, you know, from the time, of course, I was a little girl. It was just always this feeling of with nature and being outside. And I used to climb trees. I was a total tomboy, total tomboy. But when she really came to really just sit with me constantly, I would say was in 2000 and 2001 was when the first time I really remember hearing her voice. And oddly enough, it was around the whole World Trade thing. And there was this whole download that she gave me. And the download at the time, I'm going, nah. Who's this talking to me? You know? And of course, now we look back and like all of those things were like pretty much.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was that type of like, she came in like shocking, like when she really started talking, it was like boom. And I was like, you know, and so then the relationship continued to grow. But she's a lot like that, you know, like she just will start talking. And most of it fundamentally will be a few years before the things that she's talking about actually begins to manifest. And I've just learned that that's kind of the way it goes with her, you know. And I'm sure she operates the same way with people, anyone who has a relationship with her, because I'll notice that something will come in and I'll be like, oh my God, really? Gaia? Wow. And then it'll be some random person on the other side of the world. I just happen to be hearing interview, and the person will say a snippet and I'll like recognize it. I'm like, so it does come in, like we're picking this up, right? So it's not like this dedicated conversation, but it's about just, I'm at this frequency that when she's talking, those of us at that frequency are hearing it, right?
Right. And you almost validate each other. Right.
Absolutely.
Like she has a lot of ears listening out there. And yeah, that's awesome. That's sweet. So you designed a deck for her, because being an artist and a channel. Yeah. And now, can we buy that deck on your website?
Yeah, you know, I actually went and redesigned it so I can have physical copies of it. It can be downloaded on my website, so people can download it and then have the cards and have the meanings. And one of the easiest ways to work with the deck is there's 36 cards, and just make small cards 1 through 6, and then, you know, pull the smaller cards and then read what that means, and then seeing the pictures for the deck. That's a very easy way to interact with the downloadable deck. So I'll make sure you have a link for that.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So we'll see what she want me to pull one and see what she's.
Yeah, let's hear what her message is for this time.
This is the one she wanted. So this is number 23. Wow. We know that 23 is, whew, it's a lot going on around the 23. The number, from a numerology standpoint, there's a lot of 23 energy happening. So 23 is, we're going to be talking about some of this today too, is, okay, it's the circle. Well, this deck is a deck of circles, but they're not, but everyone is not necessarily referred to as a circle. So this one is referred to as a circle. Of course, 23 is a 5 energy. It's the great sun, the portal of the past, present, and future, the point at which we move forward and backward, not in time, but space. It is the source of life and creation. Wow. Weren't we just talking about in the green room that this timeline thing, this is what Gaia wants to talk about? So you ladies are witness to this is what she wants to talk about.
There's no coincidences, right?
No
That's
coincidences.
we keep saying that, like things come up and you're like, they like to draw a line under it and say, yeah, that's right. That's what you need to talk about.
Exactly. So she's like, yep. Okay, ladies, this is what we're going to chat about, you know? So yeah.
And so the recalibration you were talking about in the green room was about going back into ourselves to I guess, to address that, to start the healing.
Yeah, and one of the things that's true in so many of all of the ancient cultures. So if we think about the ancient Asian cultures, the Taoist, if we think about the Vedic cultures, the Russian shamanic cultures, if we think about the African cultures, the shamanic cultures of the ancient African races, if we think about Mesoamerica, if we think about the Toltecs, if we think about the indigenous people of America, all of these people had one system that they call different things, but they did repeatedly as a part of their culture. And it was this sort of recapitulation type of process where you're constantly going in and you're reclaiming your energy, because they understood the importance and the power of energy. They definitely got that. Right. And so they know that when we go out into our day, we are spending energy, right? Okay, we understand we're spending energy, but they understood at the end of the day, it was important to reclaim that energy. Because it's like when you let energy flow out your body, it flows out and then it just keeps going.
Yeah.
You know, and other people can pick it up and use it. But if you don't pull it back in, then you start just continuing to leak energy. And we've heard in the spiritual community this idea of leaking energy. We talk about it, but you don't connect it to the fact that those are all your agreements. Those are all your yeses. Any energy that you let flow out of you, you should be consciously giving a yes to it. Now, we're not always doing that, right? Stuff is happening. Somebody crosses us in front of us in a car, almost has an accident. We almost have an accident. We're like, you know, and that's energy that goes out, right? And then when we, you know, pull ourselves back together and say, okay, all right, well, I'll let that go. It's okay. We do that, but we don't ask for our energy back. That energy is now gone. So in that moment that you actually stop and compose yourself from something, almost getting, you know, sideswiped or something, you have to stop and say, well, okay, that was a yes that I just gave to that experience. And I let all that energy flow out. And so now I'm going to bring it back. And then anything that I took in an exchange, I'm going to also send back out. Okay. And so we don't always do it in every moment, but at the end of the day, it's a good practice. And the ancients used to do that at the end of the day, you know, before you go to sleep, you have the intention to just reclaim all that energy, bring it back in. And sometimes you just, with the intention of it, you can lay there with your eyes closed and scenes will pop up. There'll be things that you didn't even realize you gave a yes to. And in this day and age, we're given a lot of silent yeses. And this is definitely a trick of the enemy. You know, we're just going to call it what it is, which is a part of the two worlds. And I'll talk about these two worlds as I see it. But if we sit there and we nod our heads, or we don't say, if someone says something and it doesn't feel right to our energy, and we sit there and participate, and we don't say anything because we don't want to be, politically incorrect, or we don't want to ruffle any feathers. And we sit there. We've just given a yes. We've just let energy. We've let it go out. So
Right.
it doesn't have to be we don't have to speak everything. But in that moment, if you find yourself in a situation where you absolutely do not agree, and you don't want in the field of all consciousness for this to be a yes that's flowing out from you, in that moment, we have to stop. We have to really tighten in our luminous cocoon, our egg. We have to physically, in our minds, mentally, absolutely, this is a no for me. I do not give any yeses. So we're saying all of this because it's like a way of fortifying your field. But we have to do this. And there's times that when we're at night, we're doing this reclamation process, right? And it'll pop into your mind something. You're like, oh my God, yeah, I did kind of give a yes there because I didn't, and you just reclaim it because our energy can be brought back to us, right? And the exchange that happened, which was energy that we didn't agree with, we took that on. When we didn't actually have a full stop, that energy came into our field. And so this is what's causing us to be tired a lot. It's so much going on in the energetic field right now to sort of win or claim over those of us who are parts of the humanity that's actually going to save this thing. We're busy trying to be the mediator, trying to keep everything right, trying to take the higher ground and what have you. And we can see these forces out here that are definitely, like they used to say, what was it in Waterboy? His mother used to say, that's of the devil, it's definitely of the devil, we can look at it and see. You can call it what you want to call it. And that's the part of the two earths that, we can discuss. So one of the things that you can do, you can start with the present. And like I said, just in the evening before going to sleep, just intend to reclaim your energy. You don't have to work hard at it. The frequencies that are in the field right now are here to really help us. We have so much help around us right now. And you were talking about that a bit in the green room, Teresa. It's so much. And all we have to do is create intention. Now, most of these old practices, there was something called intention. And intention is actually a universal energy. We think of the energy of, what was the whole thing that was out for a while, the long time, the power of, was The Secret. What was The Secret? The whole thing was, can't think of it. You know what I'm talking about.
The law of
attraction. We create through what?
I'm seeing the law of attraction.
That's it, law of attraction. So we were told, and the law of attraction is only a part of the law of intention.
Right.
And the law of intention is actually a universal field. It actually is an electrical magnetic field. So when you just connect with it, it's readily available to help you. So you may fall asleep one night and think, I just fell asleep. I don't remember anything. Next night, fell asleep. I don't remember anything. But maybe you're driving along during the day, or you're sitting doing some work, and something will pop up in your mind. And you're like, oh, I can see I can reclaim that. You reclaim it. And the more you do it, the more it takes on this force that helps you. And it's very easy. And it's a breathing process too. You can use the breath with it. So you can take your breath and you can just breathe in. You always want to reclaim. So you just take a long inward breath until you can't take any more. And that's you reclaiming all your energy from, let's just say that, the automobile, near miss that we talked about earlier. And so I bring it all in, the deepest, longest breath. And then, and you send all the no's out. So everything that's not of your energy field, everything that happened in that moment that became entangled with you, you send it out. And you just keep on breathing and going in and out until you physically can feel that the energy disconnects from you. And so that's an easy thing that I would suggest everybody just starting today. And then what can happen, and it's some of the things that, I can go deeper in it another time, but then you can go back and start with the time that you were in the womb at conception. So 0 to 9 months. And then 1 day to the first year, and year 1 to 2 3, and come your way up. And you'll find that there's some years that you may stay on for a week or 2 weeks. And then some years you'll find were pretty benign and there wasn't a lot happening. And so your energy, and I find that it seems like it happens in cycles within this system. It seems like it's these cycles where it lets up off us a little bit, and then it comes back and strikes harder. And then it lets up off us a little bit. And then a few years you're getting pummeled with everything. It's actually the cycle of the matrix in terms of the way the programming goes with it.
Oh, wow. That's pretty neat.
They don't want to pummel all their bees to death.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I can talk a little bit about the way, this is how I see and how I've been shown where we are right now.
Okay.
So it goes back to, she was talking about the sun, the great sun. We're talking about timelines, the past and the present, and these sort of things. And so basically, I think, before 2020, there was a lot, for years leading up to that, there was a lot of talk about the new earth, the rainbow bridge, the ascension. I always called it expansion because that's what Gaia always called it. But, and then it seemed like 2020 hit, things went into a huge chaos, and there really hasn't been a lot of talk about that, what happened, and it seems like there was just a whole disconnect that really happened, right? So we can talk a little bit about that because Gaia is happy to sort of share, which I'll share what she shared with me. But it's this idea that it's really what she always tells me is an original earth. Okay. So we're in an original earth. There is an original earth. It can be the same thing as we call the new earth, because the new earth was a shift from what we were already dealing with. But the new earth, she's always called the original earth. It's always been here. So the original earth has always been here. That's why we've always felt this connection to animals, to trees. You were talking about earlier, Rhonda, your profound connection with the fairies and what have you. They've always been here. They didn't go anywhere. It's been here. But it was a time that the earth got usurped. And it really wasn't tens of thousands of years ago. Gaia keeps on saying about 500 or 600 years ago, this artificial overlay was put on top of the original earth. So we hear it called a lot, like we live in a computer simulation and all that. And when I first heard that, I really railed against it because I thought, no, I feel mother, I feel nature, I feel like it can't be this artificial thing. Well, she began to help me understand that when we talk about simulation, the word simulation means similar to. It means something that was created similar to the original thing. And so when this artificial energy overlaid onto the original earth, it had a lot to do with things that kind of like infiltrated into this realm. And, we can get into that at another time. There's been a lot of ideas about how that happened, but suffice it to say, there was this energy overlay that happened. Now it was done like with computer coding. So the idea of zeros and ones, right? This idea of this binary system and the idea of the zero math. So when this field was laid over the original earth, it was a simulation that was being put over the blueprint of earth, but it was being controlled by a different energy field. So the best way to kind of bring this in for people was the image we talked about earlier about images and pictures of a motherboard. So if you think about a computer has a motherboard, and you see all of the movement on it, you see all the little transistors and resistors and all that kind of stuff on it, right? So it's called a motherboard for a reason, because it was the motherboard, the original earth, that was programmed over it in this simulation. So computer terminology is the best. CPUs, central processing system, like there's so many terminologies in computer programming that speaks directly to what we have right now. So we are a part of the original mother through the birthing process. But we come up into a system that at birth, we begin to be programmed into the energy frequency of that overlay, which is why as children, we resist so much. We have imaginary friends. We want to run around with no clothes on and just play in the, in the fields. And we love our animals. And, it takes, it takes a while to deprogram a young child from the original earth to the simulated one that the world is trying to get that child to live in.
Wow.
And as parents, we're guilty of it because we didn't understand it because it was done to us.
Right.
So we kind of start programming that kid to be of the frequency of earth, which is why they lose their ability to fly, to be creative, to imagine, be imaginative. They stop seeing things. They stop being, spiritually connected to to the other, beings and brothers and sisters of the various realms, right? So with that said, we have this energy frequency that's now laid over, and that is definitely a control frequency, and it's one that is really designed to take energy. Now, the quickest and easiest way that I probably could help folks see what I'm saying is if we look at a motherboard on a computer and the way it's shaped. It's got kind of circular, semicircle, straight lines and all that. Now go on Google Map and look down at your neighborhood. You got semicircles, cul-de-sacs, straight lines. Why do we have cul-de-sacs and semicircles and all this stuff? I mean, that takes extra work. We live in a world that don't want to do no extra work. It would be a straight line grid would be the easiest and smartest thing. But there's houses, there's apartment buildings, there's other local or municipal buildings, and all these are harnessing a certain energy. So each person in their home is dialed into, we're a part of the original motherboard, but the artificial overlay is able to synthesize energy. And that energy is being synthesized into various grids. And these motherboards are all over and they all connect up. And as they all connect up, you can see how this could be one giant computer or simulation. And we're actually feeding it with our energy in these different buildings. And we go to work and everybody's all stacked up into that. And that's feeding a certain amount of energy into the grid. And so one of the things that we're dealing with is it's not so much that, like I said before, there's no right or no wrongs. It's awareness. So we become aware of it as opposed to feeding our energy into the artificial grid. We feed it into the motherboard, or we allow ourselves to stay connected with. Don't you think it's interesting that the ions that come from Earth, they call them the negative ones?
Yeah.
And the ones that come from computers and all that, they call them the positive ones. It's like we're living in an upside down world. So everything is reversed. So all truths are the opposite of what.
But they named them that way, so we would think negative is bad.
Right, exactly. But it's the good stuff. So, there's so many things that we can do. And I know many of your listeners have heard it before, but having lots of live plants around, having lots of crystals and things, different places, walking around barefoot, try to remove any carpet and artificial materials and walk around and try to get your floor as close to cement or stone or natural materials as possible, because that you're going to walk around your house and all the earth's energy is going to come up into you and you're going to connect with the earth. But all the rubber slippers, the synthetic rugs, all of that is designed to keep our energy from anchoring in the earth, and it allows us to anchor back in to this simulation, and then that energy is gridded off into the matrix, not into the earth. And so we have go ahead please.
No, I just wonder, so is that why we need to reclaim our energy at night?
Exactly. So all the reclaiming of the energy is the same thing, because it's I mean, this may seem idiotic, and I'm open, like I always invite people to dialogue. This is how the mother's shown me, and some of it may not seem like, oh gosh, what's she talking about? But just let it marinate. Don't make a decision one way or the other. But some of it we have to do, right? But every time we walk and turn on a light switch, we're actually connecting with the matrix, the simulation. We're not connecting with Gaia or the realm that the animals and nature and the trees are connected to, right? So we have to turn on the light switch. But we can also do it with intention. So we can do to turn it on where we turn it on, but we're not putting our energy into it. We're just using it to flip it so we can have the electricity in the room, but we're not buying into that's the only way that we can be in connection with electricity, right? So it's these small intentions of consciousness that the more we reclaim, the easier it is for us to understand stuff like that. Do you remember like how we all went through it until we were able to upgrade our systems? But when the energy really started flowing in the 90s, well, after the harmonic convergence, so in the 80s, there was a huge shift in the planetary energy that Mother sent in. And we're familiar with that with the harmonic convergence. And remember, there was a time that you couldn't walk in the room without, when you touched the light switch, it zapped you. Yeah. Or when, you know, it was like we were constantly being zapped because we had been upgraded as energy beings, and we were pushing off so much energy that the energy of the grid, it's like putting opposite sides of a battery together, the negative, the positive and positives, and they're going to repel, right? So we were repelling because we had our own energetic field. When we upgrade it, our body will upgrade to bypass it. So it doesn't mean we lost it. It just means that we learn to integrate it. But our body in its unique intelligence did it for us. We weren't necessarily aware of it. So we can bring our awareness back into the body, thanking it and saying, okay, well, I'm gonna be more conscious of this. And I appreciate the fact that you're upgrading constantly and I'm not always in my awareness about it. So it's little things like that where permissions can be connected in the oddest sort of ways, you know?
Wow.
That's so, like when we do turn on the light, we acknowledge that we are using the light. It's not using us.
And exactly, Ron. And guess what? We can also acknowledge that it's our energy that's allowing that light to be turned on. Right. Because here again, this is another one of the way I hear Gaia and the way I think. I actually believe that it's human power that's actually electrifying the realm. This idea of electricity being created, I believe there's some technology, of course, that creates it, but I really believe, because I do see this overlay, it's a redistribution of the energy from the realm. So I don't know if you've seen videos where you could actually take a coil and wrap it around a tree and then attach a light and the light comes on, because the trees actually are electricity. Wow. Electricity is everywhere in nature. It's in us. So if we overlay this artificial grid onto the motherboard, it's being overlaid onto us too. So we're creating the very energy that we're using to make that light switch come on. And so it's about being in the power and the knowledge of that, and not seeing it as something outside of ourselves, but something that we are reclaiming that energy. So like all the energy that's in your house that's powering things, reclaim it, because it's really coming from you as well. And you would be surprised how strong you start feeling in your body. I know the longer I reclaim, I really start feeling like amazingly strong. Like it's incredible how much of that strength comes back, and you start feeling you start feeling the energy you felt when you were 20. It's like really crazy. And that just goes to show you how much we are giving away in the oddest ways.
And we
I definitely need that.
So we've really been brought up in a culture like we should give. We should give. We should give.
Yeah.
Without reclaiming. And I mean, that has been put into us since the beginning. You know, it's better to give than receive. But at the same time, if you don't become the receiver, nobody can be the giver. And
exactly.
So you have to be able to receive in order to give. And like we were just talking yesterday about filling your own cup first, because you can't pour from an empty vessel.
I mean, you hit it right on the head, Rhonda. That's exactly it. You know, it's just that we do feel guilty. Oh, I'll let somebody else. But no, we have to, because remember when we were reclaiming, all we're doing is taking back what's ours. We're not taking back what's the other person's.
And there's lots to go around.
Right. You know, you're just taking back what's yours and you're giving back to them what's theirs. So at the end of this exchange, we're having this amazing exchange, but at the end of this interview, we all should stop and reclaim.
Yeah.
So the things that I shared, I claim it back. The things that you shared were a gift from you, but I send it back to you. We still have the essence of it. We still have it's upgraded our consciousness, but we don't need to keep each other's energy, because energy is not in the field of consciousness. The energy is in the field of our avatars. And so it's respectful. It's respectful to give back what's not yours and reclaim what's yours. But the essence, the frequency of what was shared is still a part of the mass consciousness or the greater field of consciousness. That's not going to leave us. It's the energy exchange that you want to make sure that you're constantly, taking back and giving back, that keeps you strong enough to keep doing the things that you need to do. And like you said, the old adage, we hear it every time we sit on an airplane. Blah, 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 blah. And if you need to put the mask, put it on you first and then put it on your child.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing that there's some program that says save yourself first so you can help others. And then there's all this other program that says help others, help others, help others, and neglect yourself. Well, like you say, that's why so many spiritual workers, be it with massage or channeling or anything, they really start losing their energy. They get sick, things happen, and you think sometimes, why did they've been so powerful in helping others? It's because they never took back that energy after each session.
But it's ingrained. It's almost like as soon as women started to become powerful as healers and the spiritualists, they injected this. It has to be selfless.
Yes. And it's selfless and selfish are two different things, right? We're not being selfish, but selfless means the destruction of the self. And that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely correct. And so it's a matter of us realizing this, and that's all programmed. It's all programming to keep you giving into this grid. It's got to have us. And that's why it's starting to come apart. That's why we're seeing so much stuff that you would never have seen before. We're hearing so many things we would never have heard before, because so many people, we're starting to hit that mass collective number, right? Where, and who knows, it's some kind of imaginary number, but it's a point where things tip. And the average person is just so awake now, and they may not even understand or be able to have conversations like we're having, but they can sit there and nod their head like, you know what? This is making more sense than the stuff I heard on the nightly news. That's for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
who
so
listens to the nightly news anymore? I hear a lot of people now just click it off.
Right. And so what's happening is that scale is tipping. And so as it tips, more of the simulation becomes exposed. Because why? It's our energy that keeps the simulation up. And as we start pulling it in, it's almost like Neo on the Matrix. When he pulled that plug out, what happened? Everything went down and it was just a white room.
Wow.
It's like, we're keeping this going, and everything that's really connected to us is inside of us and connected to earth, to animals, and to things like that. So, and I want to, if you have any questions, please do, or if there's questions or comments
Melinda
in the
says,
audience.
I've never heard about taking your energy back with every interaction before. Brilliant. Like, every interaction is a give and take, right? So
yeah. And it's funny because it is foreign. It is foreign to us. And I know the first time I was introduced to it, I thought, this is impossible. How am I going to do that? Well, the beautiful thing about intention, it works pretty much like I did the law of attraction, where they say, okay, you can all the things you want, you can make a mood board, you can put it up. You walk by it all the time, and miraculously things begin to happen. I've done those, and I've had amazing things happen, like just not even thinking about it anymore, because our conscious mind, our higher self, our oversoul doesn't have to do the things of paying the bills and going out and taking care of family and dressing ourselves and healing ourselves and going and get colonics and all that kind of stuff to keep us going. It doesn't have to do that. It has one function, and that is to help manage us while we're in this avatar. So when we send the intention up, this is what I plan to connect with, then the oversoul, I got it, and it's working on it. So this idea of, no, you don't have to necessarily every single thing you do, stop and consciously take it back. The conscious thing is in the beginning, creating the intention. I intend to share my energy, reclaim what I'm supposed to reclaim, and give back to others what I'm not supposed to keep. It's very simple. Okay, the higher soul says, got it. And we may think on that a few times. And what starts happening is the same thing like with the law of attraction. You can be sitting down one day and all of a sudden an event that you completely forgot about that took a lot of energy from you will pop up in your mind, and you'll sit there. You'll just be like, oh my God. You'll be mesmerized because the scene will come back and then you can see and whatever. And then when you draw that energy back, when your body just feels like it's just like rock solid, you're like, wow, thank you. Thank you, spirit. Thank you, consciousness. That's how it works, you know? It's just creating that intention. And the more we stay connected to intention, it does the work for us. So it's like one of these things, like I always say, there's no rights and no wrongs. This is not like an exercise and, oh, I gotta do. Nope, just intend. It's like everything else, just intend. And our higher self, our oversoul, starts helping us and does a lot of the work for us.
So we just need to remind it a few times and then it takes over.
Yeah, you just remind yourself of it. And then something will happen and you may be sitting there and you're like in the middle of, could be on the job or something like that. And all of a sudden, this huge thing breaks out between your boss and another employee, and they're going back and forth. And you know, and then something, our oversoul will say, okay, just sit here and pull your spirit in.
Pull your energy in.
Yeah, don't be a part of that one. Yeah. And then it's an awareness, and you're like aware, like, okay, yeah, that's not I don't want to put any energy into that. And so sometimes the awareness is to get up and move, get up and walk away, get up and move out of that environment so that you're not mixing any of your fields. So it's stuff like that. It's just that kind of awareness and intention. But I'm going to tell you something, it's powerful. And this is what the ancients have done forever. So you're talking about shamans, you're talking about Taoists, you're talking about Tibetan monks, you're talking about Toltec, shamans and what have you.
Right.
You're talking about Native American chiefs. Why are they so powerful? Because they practice this.
Yeah.
And so when we become serious about our work and what we're trying to do, when we're introduced to things that may take a little bit more work, it may take a little bit more focus, that's what begins to separate us and allows us to really be on the footpath for what we're here to do.
Wow. That's just amazing. And if everybody just got like, okay, today, reclaim your energy from this show, all of a sudden, whatever triggered you, reclaim that energy, take the lesson, leave the other person's energy back out there. And things that are popping in your head, reclaim your energy from those and just listen. And you might want to listen to the show again, because I think the more you listen to it, the more things will get clear.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it too, is I was talking with my daughter-in-law the other day, and I think we can all put our hands up to this. This is how you know that we're observing ourselves in this avatar. Anything that you can observe is really not the true you.
Right.
So we're functioning, if I can observe my hand, this is not the true me. I'm functioning, I'm operating through this hand, right? I'm operating through this avatar. But the true me is much more than what can even be compressed in this avatar. And it's true for all of us. So, how many times have you had a thought that you absolutely know ain't your thought? Like a minute ago, you were thinking, and all of a sudden this thought will come in. You're like, oh my God, where'd that come from?
Yes.
Hand up.
Absolutely.
And it's weird. And you think to yourself, oh my God. And sometimes a lot of times it ain't the best thought either. You're like, where did that come from? It came from the field. It came from this matrix overlay that's constantly shooting in its energy. It's shooting in this stuff. And we can stop and say, wow, that's not my thought. Oh, am I okay? Do I need to go see a therapist? Or we can recognize it in that moment and say, nope, that wasn't mine. I don't accept that energy. I send that back.
Right.
So that's an example of it. That was something we recognized it wasn't ours and we sent it back. We do that all the time. So what we're saying is that we're going through this process of also looking at those things that we gave our yeses to. We were in a relationship It didn't work out the way we had planned. Maybe we gave more yeses to that relationship, hoping that it would work, and it didn't. The biggest area, now this is one that maybe people can get with, or they might not be able to get with, but all I can do is speak the truth and, let it fall where it needs to fall. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you start recapitulation, the best place to start is with relationships. Men and women, go back to those relationships, because we leave so many yeses there. So many yeses that we would not, that even when we're saying a yes, we would think, I really don't want to say yes to this, but I will, because if I do, then maybe he or she will do this. Maybe he or she will be this. Maybe
I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't want to cause a problem. I want to be nice.
We just want to get along. Can we all get along? Yes, those are yeses that we gave. And then the most powerful thing, because when we love a person and we're in relationships where we're doing sexual exchanges, the energy fields, the frequencies are very powerful. And what happens is those exchanges, it keeps tendrils, it keeps these connected fibers to those relationships.
I've seen this.
And have you ever had situations where you're sitting, you might not, maybe a relationship happened 20 years ago, your first love or whatever, didn't work out, you've gone on your merry way, and you're sitting there and all of a sudden he or she pops into your mind. And you're like, what made me just think about her? What made me just, and then you're like, and you like it. Sometimes it's like it's almost an icky feeling. Right? You're like, I don't want to think about that.
Oh my God! How could I have?
Exactly. Well, what's happening there is that tendril is still connected to that individual, and they needed your energy. They needed that yes you gave them. So whatever that yes was to something, they needed the frequency of that yes, and they reached out and thought about you and thought about how. Well, Robyn always gave me a yes, and I need that yes now. And it pulls it, and we feel that energetic pull, which makes us think about the person. We want to get rid of all that. All of that, all of that's got to go.
Yeah.
And it's done with the breath. So that deep breathing in, and we know so many of the traditions, everything's in the breath. So that's why a lot of times, if you're not sure where to start, or it seems like, I think we all can get into it with them old relationships. And, there's good times in those relationships, and there are things that didn't work. So, it's not like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but it's just saying, like, I'm going to take all my yeses back. Good time. And the yeses are not about good or bad times. It's just about you've left energy somewhere. It's just like if you went to the store, let's say if you went, you had your kid go to the store and purchase some stuff, and the shopkeeper. So before you go to work, you stop by there and you say, hey, I'm gonna give you $100, and my kid will come and do some shopping for me. And then, and the guy said, and they used to always do that in the old days. Remember, they always had the corner store always, held tabs or took money, and you could work off of it. Okay. So when you come back and the food is there, $62 worth of food is there, everything is great. Are you not going to go back to the shopkeeper and get the other $48? It makes sense. You go back and get what you've left, and you bring it back. I mean, we can understand it in so many ways, but it gets a little tricky when you think about energy. But it's the most powerful thing we have is our energetic body. That's a part of our auric field, and that's why. When you used to see old paintings, going back to talking about art, everybody always had an aura. It wasn't just Christ who had an aura. Everybody had an aura. Well, why? Because people's bodies were strong. Their energy fields and frequencies were strong and powerful to the point you could see them. You could see people's energy bodies. Now, only people who are gifted, to see energy fields can see things. And a lot of times they're very weak, because from the time we were a kid, we were taught to give it away, and not ever taught to say, hey, that's mine. It keeps me strong. It keeps me healthy. It keeps me going. I want to keep that yes. And that's really what Gaia wants us to really understand, that it's natural. Animals do it all the time. Right. The cycle of life, trees, just when you're harvesting on a field, the plant goes in, it's watered, it's nurtured, it grows up, it's harvested, nutrients fall back into the soil, it's turned over, it starts again. I mean, even nature takes back its yeses. And with the stuff harvesting, turning into the ground and it becoming nitrogen and stuff again, so it can grow again. It's a natural cycle.
Yeah. And don't leave your fractals behind, because when you
I
leave
love that,
behind,
Rhonda. Exactly.
when you leave your stuff behind, don't you think it's taking up space in other fields that shouldn't be there?
Yeah.
And they can't fill in those spots.
Right.
With their own.
And sometimes we've said things to people that we didn't mean to say. And we didn't even realize we didn't say it. And then recapitulation will do that too. We'll have this moment where it's like, you know, I said that and it probably didn't come out right. I can see why that person had that expression on their face. But at the time, we didn't really think about it. So that way we get to take back something that from that other person that we didn't mean to leave and give them back what we took, which probably was a smile or their happiness in the moment. I mean, it goes both ways. And it's a product of life. It's not a right or wrong. It's nothing for us to feel bad or good about. It's just, if we just understand how energy works, wow. And the other thing I want to talk about, back to the harmonic convergence, is that, so that happened in the 80s. Well, what most people don't realize, and what Gaia helped me realize in 2020 when I was in Australia. So in 2020, when all the planets were crazy conjunct on the 13th of January, I was at the Earth, the womb chakra of the planet at Uluru.
Oh, neat.
In Australia, right? And we were doing this ceremony. It was very powerful. I mean, it was a lot of people in this. It was a consciousness conference. So there were a lot of people there. You know, Christine Day and Martin Kinney. I mean, there was all kind of people there at this conference, and we had this evening ceremony. Well, one of the things that I had been being shown this in like about 8 months prior to 2020 on Conversations with Gaia. The mother kept on instructing me to tell people, get your stuff in order. Anything that you don't want, get rid of. Anything that you want, make sure you have, because it's going to come a time where you're going to be stuck with everything that you have, and you're going to be stuck with it for a while. And she just kept on saying that, and we were talking about it, on Conversations with Gaia a lot, and I had no idea what was going on, but she was really instructing people. And I myself was in a relationship that really wasn't serving me. It wasn't bad. But it really, and I knew I needed to get out of that relationship. So in January 2020, I left the relationship. I just, told the gentleman, look, this is not working. Blah, blah, blah. 2 months later, I can't imagine being still stuck in that relationship, because the energy hadn't changed, right? Right. But it was funny. So we were all going through this, right? And then when I was in Uluru, Gaia was really just streaming a lot of stuff into me. So on March 11th, she downloaded the 1111 code, and I think I had shared it with you guys before. But it was really was talking about the consciousness and the change on the planet. And then on that, she said that on March 13th, things are going to change, and they're going to stay like that for a while. Now they will, we those of us who understand what's going on will be victorious, but it's going to be like this for a while. And what happened on March 13th, the world closed down, and, it spun through a lot of crazy things. And we're still trying to, 4 years later, we're still trying to, almost 5 years later, trying to recover from it. Well, what she wanted to say, what she was saying even then in that writings, was that it was like 2020 was like the harmonic convergence. It was a similar kind of consciousness where its energy was streaming into the planet, and it was designed to upgrade us. It was it was a huge ascension. 2020 was a huge ascension. But because the overlay, that programming, didn't want us to recognize it as such, it took it and flipped it into something that it could then be into control. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't illnesses and people didn't get sick, sure, because that's a product of inserting. If you have a computer program, you can pull one memory card out and stick another one in, and what does it do? It starts playing, a whatever the thing is. Well, this is what's happening with this matrix structure. So anyway, The point is that a lot of what was going on was ascension symptoms to the highest degree. Now, the writings that I did and put out before March 13th spoke to that. And the mother called it A North Rock Survives. That's what she said. The title of this download was A North Rock Survives. We know the North Rock is what? Mount Meru, or at the top of the planet. It's a part of the Aurora Borealis. It comes out of with the card we pulled today, the great sun, the central sun. There is a beautiful geophysicist by the name of Giuliana Conforto. She's Italian, and she does most of her writing in Italian or German. It's hard to find any of her work outside of that. I bought one of her books in Italian called The Black Sun that I've had to transcribe because it's the only way I can read the thing, but because I don't read Italian. But she talks about the center of the earth being a crystalline core. It's been proven by geophysicists. It's a crystalline core, and it transmits frequencies and energy, and it feeds us. Well, there was this big unlocking, Gaia said, where the Aurora Borealis was just streaming up this energy, streaming up this stuff through the top, or the North Rock survives. And so we were getting these ascension symptoms were like viral. They were just crazy. Many of us got it, right? And some people actually got some kind of virus or pneumonia and stuff like that, because that stuff's out here too. So it's not to say that wasn't, we can have both. It's not like it's either or. It's like this was going on simultaneously because something had to go on to take our minds from it. And what Gaia wants to say today is that if we all can open our minds and those of us who recognized it, she's validating it. Those people who may not have thought about it, she's saying it's not too late to connect with that energy and let it go in and keep on healing you. Let it keep on upgrading you, because a lot of the upgrades already happened, but let's claim it. It goes back to intention. Because honestly, what seems like it's being controlled by the controllers is not. The mother, the elementals, got this thing covered. We are so protected and we are so in alignment. It just goes back to the idea of intention to connect with it. So why North Rock Survive? And I woke up one morning, the morning that she downloaded this into me, I woke up, North Rock Survives. I'm like, North Rock Survives, what's that? And then she started talking. I'm just writing it because it's just like this download. And when I finished and read it, I was like, oh my goodness. Well, I looked at it. If you take North Rock Survives, so North, N-O-R, and then R-O-C-S-U-R-V, I think I-V, something like that. The reverse of it is coronavirus.
Oh.
That's the beauty of the mother. Well, how long was it called coronavirus before that shifted? It was only called that for a few months, and then he started calling it, 19, right?
Right.
Well, because that's what the Matrix has to do. It's a beautiful example. She's shooting energy up through the corona, the Christ consciousness at the top, the crown at the top. And the overlay puts an overlay program on top of it and calls it COVID 19, right? And in a short period of time, start using the blessed name, Corona, crown, because that's a spell that's blessed, that's empowered by earth. And then started renaming it and got our brains to agree to the renaming of this spell that then, ever since then, you've never heard it called that again. It's always been the seal. And this is another example of how things get flip-flopped to claim the energy. And we're all familiar with gematria and the spelling and how English has a spelling. It's all of this is the same stuff.
I love that.
So what's going on with you that we can connect with you, and how can we connect with you?
Well, on my website, RobynMcClendon.com, I do a lot of my ArtMythos stuff over there. So if you're interested in journaling, maybe learning how to connect to your story, and and not so much like I said earlier, not about art, but about really just allowing yourself to open up. This last 5 years has been traumatic for all of us. There's been so many mental health issues. People can't feel like they don't have anybody to talk to. And it's not like that we're crazy or anything, but we've got a lot of anxiety all up in us, and you have to have some place where you can get it out. So my community is really big on that. I also am going to be launching again the radical self-love. I do a lot of the meditations and things like that. So that's always a good place to connect. Join my my newsletter on the website, robynmcclendon.com. And as I begin to release things, that's a good place to see what I'm releasing and, you know, connect in if you'd like to.
And you have a Patreon channel too that people can connect to?
Yeah, Patreon is where we do a lot of the art journaling and just a lot of creating, just fun. It's just there's a community where we can just come in there. It's not about art. It's not about right or wrong. It's just about allowing that playful side, that right brain side, that child in us. It's just allowing us just to express without having it to connect to anything and be used for anything. I mean, I think we're at a point now where, just like we were kids, we didn't have to have a reason for why we were going outside and play. We just went outside and played.
Mom, I need to go outside. Yeah, let's just go outside. Go outside.
Let's just go outside.
Yeah.
Why? If somebody said why, you look at him like, how is this a why question? You know, like, why? I want to go have some fun.
We were just put outside. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how. Oh, I came from that same era, right?
Yeah.
It was like,
go outside.
eat your breakfast, go outside. Don't come in until lunchtime. If you come until lunchtime, you got to take a nap. You know, you came back.
Or I'll give you something to do, which you won't like.
And then it was like, don't come back until the street lights are on. And I was happy. Oh my God. Yeah. Let me be. And we all were like that, right? We all just had the best fun.
I know.
So I think that's what it's about for sure. But I think it's important to remember that the mother's here, the elementals are all around us. One quick other thing I want to say, because I know you're probably coming up on time, but one of the things that the Yeti, oftentimes known as Sasquatch, want to kind of get across. I just heard them like jump in and say, you know, is that they wanted to get this explanation about the same thing of the original Earth and the Matrix. So, and you were talking about this a little bit in the green room too, Rhonda. So I know you have like these amazing experiences with this, is that the elementals are more like the beings that we used to confront, like in our nursery rhymes and, you know, that kind of thing. Just these small beings. They were like kind of magical and mystical and not scary at all, right? They were just these, this is the part of the original Earth. When the Matrix overlay happened and it became a part of the simulation, because the simulation is about controlling, it's about fear, it's about keeping a lower frequency because it's a frequency that allows that type of matrix structure to continue. Everything has to be a low frequency, a scary frequency, a maniacal, a diabolical frequency. So the Yeti or the you know, Sasquatch are not, they're not on the original Earth. They're just these amazing, powerful, little, wonderful little beings. They open and close portals. They're tremendously powerful, but they're just little playful, bounce along little guys. But when the Matrix overlays on them, and they may be opening portals, and they're trying to their job is to protect the original Earth. That's their job, which is why they're purveyors of portals. So if you have to protect a portal, and this is what you and this is the energy over the original Earth, and you've got to protect a portal for something from this energy trying to constantly get into the original Earth, because this simulation is constantly trying to put more roots down into the original Earth. It's trying to get to really, because it really wants to be it. It doesn't want to hover above it. It wants to try to some kind of way consume the original Earth to keep it, and it's not going to happen. In fact, the space is getting further and further, which is why the veil seems to be getting thinner and thinner, because that space is in less lockdown, right? So if you're trying to now go into, each of these fingers is a portal, and now if this simulation is trying to get into those portals, and the Yeti are the protectors of those portals, you think it's going to jump up as a bobbing little happy guy? No. He's going to pop up like bigger and bigger,
Right.
abominable something, you know, because
Right.
it's got to represent. It's got to represent through those portals and thrust the amount of energy that it needs to keep that portals closed. So that's why they always seem to appear as to people who are not connected frequency wise. Got to keep that. And some of it's programming. Some people get out here and talk about they're searching for the Sasquatch. They've seen the Yeti. This is what it's like. They're part of the program, and they're sort of almost planted to say this stuff to make it seem like this is what's going on. But you will hear those people refer to the Yeti like I do as being these really beautiful, helpful, loving, full. They're just like little jovial beings. And they're so happy to be a part of what we are part of. So when you connect with them on the original earth, the energy is amazing. But if you mess with them, it's like my dog. I have a Malinois Shepherd. She's a Belgian Shepherd. And you everything's cool. She's cool. She's cute, prettiest little eyes. But let something come into the family realm that she knows is energetically not right. She's just not having it. And all of a sudden, this cute little shepherd turns into this, they like to call them alligators. She turns into something that's saying, hey, don't mess with us. That's the same energy. Many animals in the kingdom have that identical energy. They're fine, but you mess with what they're here to do, and they're not having it. So they really want us to get that because they really want to connect more with us. But their energy, when you go out into the woods, when you're out in the mountains, if you come across this really light, and a lot of times you'll catch them out of the corner of your eyes, and they'll almost look like something like a beaver or something, a bigger beaver, because they kind of bounce along. And you'll see this, and they have a tendency to be brown, and they'll have a tendency to bounce along, and you'll catch it out your eye. But when you go to look, you're like, it's that they have that kind of energy. It's a very happy, light, jovial energy. So if you're out in the forest and you feel that energy, they want you to know it's them. And you can connect with them. You can stop and just sit and talk. You don't have to be out in the forest. You can just go, you kind of want to go around trees because they really connect with the mycellular network of trees.
Right.
And they really connect with mushrooms too. So mushrooms connect with trees. So even if you're taking like the mushroom coffees, like the rhizome, all those things that are good for us, that has intelligence in it. So that sitting out in nature will open you up to their energy fields. If you start looking for them like this, you'll be surprised the amount of protection. They're very protective beings. They will look out for you. Nothing will come your way. Once you connect with a Yeti and you show them love, they are very, very loyal beings. But if you're looking for them in the way you've been shown on TV, you'll never see them. They'll never expose themselves.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You got to go at them like a bird watcher. I appreciate you.
Yeah, exactly.
Game hunter. Yeah.
And you can call them. They're very available. You can ask them to present themselves. Normally, if
Peanut
they
butter
do
and
start
banana sandwiches? Peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
There you go. One of the things you'll notice when they start connecting with you, it'll sound like bird call far away because they can project. They project in a way because they're kind of projecting through the realms, through the original to this. It sounds like it's far away, but it's just the sound is bouncing off of the dimensions. And it's a strange bird call. It sounds like bird call, and it always sounds like it's coming from far away. If you hear that, you're sitting out and you hear that, you connected with them at that point. That's them, connecting energetically. They're beautiful. They're really beautiful beings.
I think I heard that this morning because I have my doors open when I wake up, it's still dark outside. And I was just sitting there thinking, well, wow, it's so quiet. And then I heard something let out a yell. And then all of a sudden, all the owls went off. So it woke up the owls, and they started a chorus. So
if it sounded like that, and it'll sound like it almost sounds like a weird call between a peacock and
yeah,
some other type of not a crow, like a raven or something. It has this really weird combination sound when they project. So yeah. And from the time that we were in the green room, you were right on like what Gaia was talking about. So it wouldn't surprise me that that they, like they're always, like it's all confirmation, right? Everything that we've talked about today is confirmation for ourselves, with each other, with the listeners. And when you get those kind of confirmations, you know that everything is in synchrony. Everything is synchronized, and it's just beautiful connections.
I love that.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Now we come to our 3-question section. What kind of crystals are you into? We know they're just tools for energy.
No, and they're important tools. Important tools. Yeah, we got to have them.
They can't do it for us, though.
They can't do it for us, right? But they are a part of the original earth. That's why they work so much for us, because they don't lose their connection. We had them physically like a tree, but they're not of the frequency of the matrix, right? So the one I've been working a lot with is obsidian. A lot, because I feel like with the upping of the 5G, there's so many artificial energies that are being really pushed in on this on the matrix, and a lot of even some of this viral stuff is not so much organic as it is frequency, and the frequencies are making us sick. The frequencies are doing a lot, and you can get frequency flus and pneumonia, everything, because it's all about what's resonating into the body, right? So obsidian is very good for cutting the frequencies around all the electronic devices. It also, interestingly enough, protects the womb chakra. And right now, with the new earth, with the original earth creating and sending so much up, and there's so much new creating going on for the realm, especially we as women, with the womb chakra that connects to the cosmic chakra, really should be carrying obsidian with us, because it really protects that portal. That's a portal that we have to also protect. And it was one of the things that when men and women were in balance, men always protected the womb chakra just by their presence in relationship to us. And they still do, if they are aware of it. A lot of times it's not remembered. But so the physical, that, between the cosmic womb and our womb, there's protection of Gaia, of the mother. And then this external relationship of beings coming together, we're here to connect and, balance and be symbiotic with each other. Well, there's stones that do it. Obsidian is one of those stones for sure. The other one is that I've been working with still quite a bit is cinnabar.
Cinnabar. Okay.
Cinnabar is really, really a good one for illusion, for sort of the idea, the mirror of our of the realm, helping to see clearly. It also helps with any kind of negative anomalies connecting to your clarity. So cinnabar, in one of its forms, cinnabar is liquid mercury.
Right.
And what happened with liquid mercury? If you put a mirror, it runs away from a mirror. If you silver, it runs away from silver. It has this magnetic field, and so it's like liquid mercury, but it represents itself as red. So what sort of storytale, classic story meets that? Count Vladimir, right?
Oh,
Dracula.
Dracula.
So
it's couldn't see himself
funny.
in the mirror. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was designed to usurp and make us fearful of cinnabar, because it was connected to this Dracula. That was the matrix part of it. But in the original earth part of it, it's the very thing that protects us from so many things. It keeps our energetic fields clear and very vibrant and very strong. And it does reflect, it refracts everything that shouldn't be connected to us. And so that's why that mirror, it runs away from the mirror, because it knows that this is an illusionary portal and it doesn't want to connect with that energy. So it's really deep. So I've been working with Cinnabar for a few years, and the Yeti really got me on to Cinnabar more and more. So you can find it online. Oftentimes you'll find it as a white rock and it'll have like little pieces of red in it, but it's very powerful. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll have to look for that one. I don't think I don't have any of that. I know I don't. I have lots of things. I have lots of obsidian, but I don't have any of that.
Well, you'll should you get some, you'll find a beautiful connection with Cinnabar. It really is powerful stone. It's good for where we are right now.
Perfect.
So we wanted to ask you what your theme song is right now, and you had an answer right away, but you didn't share it with us yet. So,
okay, ladies. Well, for some reason, out of nowhere, I mean, I was talking to my daughter the other day, and we were talking about a lot of things, just life, nothing deep or heavy. And then out of nowhere, the song War, the group War, their song popped into my head. The world is a ghetto.
Oh.
And I cannot get it out of my head. But it's like, it talks about, we're bleary-eyed, we're teary-eyed, we're I wrote some of it down, but we want to see cleary-eyed, and and it's when you think about the words on that song, it hit me. I always liked the War song anyway. I love War as a band anyway. I remember seeing them in concert. But the world is a ghetto, and it's crazy because it is in the original sense of the word ghetto, which meant just these collectives of things that are going on, that it's separation everywhere. And we're all in our little communities, and then everybody's trying to make sense, and folks are trying to connect, but sometimes not, sometimes yes. And we're blurry-eyed, and we're teary-eyed, and we just want to be clear-eyed. And, it's just funny. So it would have been, if someone had said, what's your current theme song? It would not have been War, The World is a Ghetto. But when it came to me instinctively and just beautifully like that, it just resonated so much with me. So there you go.
I have to blast that at this afternoon, see what it says.
Yeah, you have to listen to it again. It's just good stuff.
Cool. So the last question is, have you seen any UFOs lately? Because I know you've seen them in the past, but lately, what have you seen?
Well, what's interesting is they've definitely changed the way they represent themselves, right? So you used to really see them a lot with the clouds and all those type of anomalies. And what I haven't seen, it's interesting because I haven't seen that the same. And I mean, I know I still see people with pictures and say, oh, it was a cloud thing. And I'm not seeing it like that anymore. What I'm seeing is the same energy that I would always see as these sort of ship phenomena now seem to be like orbs of consciousness. So like earlier when you were talking about, we're in the green room, you were talking about seeing the little lights, and a lot of that's connected to the fairies and what have you. A lot of that also is how the conscious field of our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters are beginning to talk to us.
Yes.
It's fields of consciousness, because we've upgraded. What they showed me a long time ago was that they're coming down in frequency to be able to communicate with us. So at one time they needed ships, they needed a physical thing just to try to get connected. And we're trying to upgrade ourselves, but the things we do, or the crystals, our meditation, all the stuff that's bringing us up. Well, we finally have gotten to the place with them, with our frequency, those of us who are resonating, is that they can actually manifest as fields, as light, as orbs of light, which is consciousness. And we're able to now download and connect with them more easily because we've come up. So it's not the old ship thing. I think that's going to, you see a lot of that stuff, that's going to be more of the Matrix trying to
like
control
they're giving the the 1960
version of it. Now all of a sudden everybody has been talking about that forever. No. Now, disclosure, and it's like looks like these ships from My Favorite Martian. You know what I mean?
Or or the world's time stood. Yeah, the world stood still. Yeah.
But where they are is that they're connecting with us as orbs of light. So you can even be outside and they'll be a lot closer. You can look up and you'll see you described it beautifully earlier where you were talking about how you could see lights flying by and you feel that connection with the fairy realm. Well, they're speaking through these levels of consciousness now to us. And I think in a lot of ways, you're a lot more connected to them probably than you may think. You know what I mean? Because they're starting to talk to us differently now. So that's one thing. And I can tell you the other way they're manifesting themselves. And I think everybody who's listening to this broadcast who are connected deeply to the realm and to the mother will recognize this. They're coming to us as owls.
Oh, yeah.
They are coming to us as owls, and they will talk. They are present. I mean, you'll have an owl that shouldn't be on your light pole because it looks like it's one from Canada somewhere here, and I'm in Arizona, and yet it'll be there, And then I've had times where I'm walking on walks with my dog, and I'll look up and I'll see one, and it's hooting, and I'll look at it, and then like you look and you walk down, you go and you look back up, and it's not there. Wow. It's just not there.
Wow.
And they're out during the daytime, all the time. So they're manifesting themselves through the wise spirit animal, the shamanic animal of the owl. And so it gives you an opportunity to have, if you see an owl that just has this amazing energy, you've just had to a 2024 UFO sighting because you're connecting now with the energy of those beings that are really working hard to upgrade us. And I'll share one quick story. And that is about last year this time, I was living in a different place. And like every night, starting like around 8 or 9 o'clock, this owl would start hooting and it would hoot, hoot, hoot,
yeah,
hoot, 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 on and on and on to the point when it first started, I'm like, is this thing going to stop? And then night after night, it did it to the point that I wouldn't even notice he was hooting. And it was so clear right outside my window. And then after months and months of this, I around 8 o'clock, I'm waiting for it to start hooting and it didn't. Going into the night, it didn't hoot. And I'm like, where's my owl? I miss you. You know what I mean? And then I had this thought, I'm like, are you like a part of my spirit guide? Are you a part of like the Gaia, like that which is helping me to understand and navigate? And then, didn't hear anything. I'm like, okay, if you really aren't an owl, then you need to start hooting right now. And then as soon as I had that thought, I was like, well, that's stupid. That's really stupid, Robyn. How are you going to tell the thing? If it's this amazing spirit form of consciousness, it's going to play this little trivial game with you called start hooting, So then I stopped and I said, I apologize. I'm like, okay, no, I accept that you are whatever you are. So that night I go to sleep. And in my dream time, because I'm very lucid in the dream time. So I spend a lot of time kind of like bridging my dreams and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm in the dream time. And as I'm waking up, I see this name pop up. And the name was something like, I wrote it down, but it was like Eva something, either Ruth something like that or whatever. And I saw the name and I thought, oh, that's it. And then I had this distinct thing to when I wake up, look it up. So I got up, I woke up in the morning, I typed it on my computer, and the only thing for this person's name was a pic. It was an art. It was painting. It was a painting. The only thing I could find for her. And what was it a painting of? An owl sitting on a branch. And I said, oh, okay, this is not true. So I kept on trying to find. There was nothing else on this woman. There was no other artwork that she has ever done. there wasn't even a biography on her. And so then I had to sit there and laugh. And I'm like, okay, you know, you trumped me on that one. Like, you want me to show you, I'm a manifest like the way we manifest, you know, and it's just like inserted this artwork and this name into the grid for me to find. And so this is how they work. So, you know, I just wanted to share that because this is how they are with all of us. They just want to have this beautiful relationship. And so look for stuff like that, because we really are living in a very magical realm. Yeah, we're living in a terrifying realm, and there's a lot going on, and it's going to be going on for a while. But at the same time, Gaia is manifesting the magic, and she's showing us that she's here for us, that she loves us. We're going to have to do the work. We have to be real, you know, we have to be realistic, you know, because we are, you know, we're in a battle. But at the same time, there's so much magic. There's so much wonderment. There's so much things to help us here. And we just have to stay connected to that as we walk through, you know, as we walk through the, you know, the valley of the shadow of death type of thing. You know, we know that we got all this stuff. And when we come on the other side, we're going to be back at the original earth. Yeah. It's going to be amazing. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Robyn, for today. It's been a hoot. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Melinda. It's been a hoot.
I love it.
It's been a hoot. But yeah, it's just wonderful. Teresa, we're going to have to get your story later about your close encounter. We'll try and get that in next time in meditations.
Yeah. Well, you guys have to have me back. Let's not make it so long this time. I know we're all going in different directions, but you know, we all started off together. I love you all. And I'm always available to share, because Gaia has so much she wants to share out. We've just scratched the surface today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, and be with us next week. Kim Van Sandy and Teresa will be here for Mother's Day special.
It'll be part 4.
From another lens. So and Teresa's, you know, time traveling and shifting that way as well. So thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Teresa, for being here, not being here. Love you. And
amazing.
Robyn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a moment.